Everyone, welcome to the webinar. I'm Satish, your host for today, and I'm RPA Evangelist at Zenesys. If you guys have any question during the webinar, please feel free to drop your question via chat, and I'll try to answer as much questions as possible. But if time doesn't permit to answer all your questions, expect me to answer via email. All right, so looks like some attendees are still joining, and let's give them a couple of seconds before we really start. I think we should start because it's already 3 minutes past our webinar. All right, so let's get started. I want to start with brief introduction and show you a couple of things today. Maybe just to help inspire you guys and show that RPA is becoming a sense of digitization. So let's get started with today's webinar and go to the agenda that we have. So in today's webinar, we'll be talking about RPA, what RPA is, and what is intelligent automation capability of RPA application. We'll touch base on advantages and benefits. We'll also be talking about list of industries using RPA and the use cases in those industries. Then we'll be talking about RPA adoption trend across industries and post-COVID market of RPA. See how our RPA has been impacted with this COVID-19, and we'll also touch base some major companies that are using RPAs and to what extent they are using RPA. Towards the end, we will also talk about RPA market growth trends and forecast for the upcoming years, and what we do at Zenesys, what life cycle we follow, will go towards the end. But with this agenda for today's webinar, let me get started, and let's start with RPA. What is RPA? Basically, RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation, and I'm sure that everyone knows here what it is. But just to define RPA in simplest terms, your R stands for robotic, P stands for process, A is for automation. This means that we are trying to automate processes using robotics. Okay, so basically when we talk about a process that we are trying to automate, this is any task that is performed by human being. For example, copying data from an Excel file and pasting it to a document, or moving a file from one folder to another folder. Second part of it is called automation, which means that we are creating computer programs to perform the same actions as human being is performing. The third part is called bot. So as we just spoke about the computer program that performs the same task as human beings do. So this program is actually called bot. So together, all the three terms makes RPA, that's Robotic Process Automation. Here you can see I have tried to explain this through the figure here, that the processes that are being carried by human beings will be automated with the bots, and this is what we call robotic process automation. I think fair enough. And let's move on to the next topic. We're going to talk about what RPA can do. Most of you would be thinking that, yeah, we have heard about it, and some of you might have much more idea than what we are talking here, but that becomes a general question that what RP can do for us. All right. So here, let me start with some of the capabilities of RP. So the first and foremost thing is that RP can launch different applications, which means it can be either a web application or a desktop application. RPA can eliminate complex and costly SaaS integrations. For example, if you talk about integration with Salesforce, RPA software makes this integration pretty easy and straightforward. RPA technologies can also be used to scrape data. They can also help you to integrate with the legacy systems without much efforts involved. And you can automate the QA processes on your side. So these are limited, some of the capabilities, but not the exhaustive list. With this capabilities, let me also touch base on intelligent automation, what intelligent automation is, and what are these capabilities of RPA software. So basically, when we talk about intelligent automation, this means that we provide these bots additional capabilities in the same way. You can think of these capabilities as some of the human intelligent capabilities. So at this point, I would only say these bots are dumb. No, these are not dumb. These are built with intelligent automation, not the repetitive work that they are taught to do. So when it comes to intelligent automation, what it can do is it can communicate with human being. It can respond to your short text messages, phone calls, emails, monitor your inbox, think like human being, look at the documents and classify the information based on its interpretation. So these are some of the things furthermore than just simple process automation. All right. So as I mentioned that if anybody has any question, feel free to drop in the chat window and I'll wait for any question anybody has.
Hey Satish, Sandeep this side.
Hey,
Actually, we have a question from audience. So, do you want to
right?
take it now?
Maybe, yeah, go ahead. That would make it more interactive.
Yeah, okay. So the question is, what sort of documents bot can read? Can they read handwritten document also?
Absolutely, yes. They can read handwritten documents, process those documents. This is one of the intelligent automation capability of RP software. Absolutely, yes. Let's wait for any question from audience.
Yeah, that's the only question I see, Satish.
All
I think you can move.
move on. All right. So let's move on and talk about advantages of RPA. So basically, RPA softwares are capable enough to get in place without even interfering with your existing software or IT infrastructure, I would say. Bots can work 24/7 and they work across platforms. That means that they can work on Windows, web, Java, and mainframe applications. And they can perform more than one processes at different point of time. So these are some of the advantages. And if we talk about benefits, so let's see look at some of the key benefits that we get out of an RPA software. And as you can see here, first and foremost benefit is improved business results. And it helps reducing data entry error because it copies and pastes data all the times with 100% accuracy. They are pretty much faster as compared to human being. As a result of correct data movement from one source into another source, it improves data quality and reduces risks. And overall wedge cost reduces as a result of bringing in RPA system. So enterprise see this benefit here. And in terms of employees, they also get benefited. It's not only for the enterprises, but employees also see that they have now reduced workload on their side and they can focus on quality and more productive intellectual work. So these are some of the key benefits that comes out of the RPA software. And moving on, let's
Yeah.
touch base on the list of industries which
So,
all
Satish,
verticals are using RPA applications.
Satish, we have
So,
a question here on the previous slide. So, do you want to
sure.
go on that now?
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
The question is, while implementing RPA, what changes are required in the existing legacy systems?
All right. So I just mentioned a little while ago that we don't really require any change. RPA software sits next to your legacy application, can work with the legacy application. So no changes are required at all. It doesn't, you don't have to modify your existing software or make any changes in the IT infrastructure on your side. Hope that answers your question.
Yep, yeah, I think you answered
Great.
it.
All right. So audiences, hope you don't have any question, and so far we are moving pretty much with most simple, common, and you're liking things so far. All right, let's keep moving. And if we talk about industries that are using RP application, we have retail, BPO, finance and banking, healthcare, insurance, telecom, manufacturing, public sector. These are the major industries that has already started using RPA applications on their side. And maybe just let's go move forward. And I got something interesting for you guys in terms of use cases and that I have pulled for some of the verticals here. Let me move forward and talk about insurance industry. So in insurance industry, the most common use cases that we see in the industries, this industry are creating underwriting and pricing, claim processing, business and process analytics, and using their own legacy systems that they are using, and the customer onboarding, absolutely the number one use case, and policy administration and client servicing. So out of these, let me illustrate one of the use case when done manually versus when it is automated with a bot. So let's talk about the claim processing. As you can see here that Mr. Dan here is a claim processor or the agent who processes claim. And on day-to-day basis, the way he works is that for he gets claim in an email. For every claim request, he gets an email. He retrieves that email, pulls information from the PDF file, uh, and then copy all that information into a document, creates a document, and then imports information from invoice that is attached to the email, and then attach them to the central claim management system, and finally sends for the approval to the management. So basically he's performing all the steps manually, going to the email, reading every email, processing the PDF file, with the claim information, uh, reading information from the invoice and then submitting it to the central claim processing system, and finally kicking it out for management approval. Excuse me. So now you see how pathetic life of this claim processing agent is without a RPA system. He is continuing and continuously working on the same thing over and again to process all the claims. Now, let's see how it works when it is automated. So when this process is automated, as you can see here up on the screen, we have got the RPA software that is capable of getting to Dan's inbox. It retrieves all the claims. I mean, this PDF file as an attachment with the email uh, goes to the central management system, which requires getting to different screens, copies and paste information from this PDF document into a file, and then you know creates another Word document to get information from the invoice, and then paste it into another document, and then finally attach these documents to that central claim processing system, and finally triggers it for the approval. All right, so as you can see here, while Mr. Dan is out for lunch, enjoying the hot lunch, bot is doing its job continuously. So the whole process gets automated. Dan just need to keep an eye on what's going on and intervene in between if something goes wrong. So Dan can focus on other things, and bot can do what Dan was doing previously with accuracy, reduced error, and better compliance. All right. So with this, let's keep moving. And I got here retail industry as another example where RPA is being used to a good extent. So in this industry, the most common use cases, if we talk about, is customer support management system, uh, then sales analytics, inventory management, automatic stock replenishment, claims and refunds. Out of these use cases today, I'm going to touch on sales analytics, and let's see what happens typically. So sales department, in this example, I have considered one of the use case where a sales department continuously looks at customers pattern and then derives marketing trend out of that, those patterns observed. So manually, they have to go grab data, look at all the data, process that data, and then look at the analysis. Even if we have a BI application that can do those, pull those graphs for you, but all this is in a manual process. Even after this, managers have to look into it from the statistical point of view, and then information that is human readable information rather than visual information. So if they don't come up with a marketing strategy in time, that means that things are gone out of the hand, and it's pretty critical. So this, and for this analytics, a lot of companies, what they are doing is they are using bots, and then those bots can jump into and log in to their sales system. Bot can go grab and understand the pattern, give you the visualization, and finally create a comprehensive summary out of it. This means that managers don't have to spend too much time here. They can simply pick up this visualization just to refer in case they need to refer, and the interpretation, and finally come up with their marketing strategies. So it made their life easier, it made things faster, and the information is absolutely correct, since now bots are making that interpretation than the human beings. All right. So I'm moving on to the next industry, which is finance and banking. Some of the use cases, if we talk about, we have uh, building artificial intelligence workforce for this industry, automated reports. So automated report generation, I'm talking about customer onboarding, uh, know your customer thing, and initiating new accounts, that's account opening. As an illustration, I'm taking again one of the use case here. Where let's consider that a lot of people, and is the most common scenario, get um, their transactions decline, and they start calling bank. Hey, what's happening with my card? And I'm trying to make this purchase, but I'm not able to make. What's going on? So when this process was not automated for some of the in some of the companies, some of the banks, I would say here, then what used to happen was that customer would call the phone banking officer. Phone banking officer has to put the call on hold. Phone bank officer would go look for the information and to figure out the reason into different systems, based on the set of reasons and based on what customer was doing, how this transaction was different. And then finally, when he'll figure out the reason, would come back and say, tell customer, sorry to put you on hold, and I have come up with this reason. And then he again has to go into system and do something on his side so that he can resolve customers issue. So everything is manual, and it takes good amount of time on customer side as well as the phone banking officer side. Customer experience is not obviously that good, because customer has to stay on hold for good amount of time, 2 to 5 minutes. And on organizational side, organization is putting up so many minutes just to figure out that information, and so that phone bank officer can answer the customer. All right. So in this automated process here, when bot helps phone banking officer, what bot can do for you is bot can go grab this information from different systems, while the phone banking officer is focusing and talking to customer, listening, understanding what's going on his side. And while customer is on phone and interactively talking to the phone banking officer, bot can go grab information from all the different systems, perform a match, prepare a actionable summary, and presents it to the phone banking officer. So the phone banking officer gets everything on screen so that he can convey what's happening wrong to the customer, and at the same time action action items for the phone banking officer. So pretty much automated without any hiccups. And this is one of the example of, I would say, assisted automation that is heavily used in the banking sector. Now moving on to the next industry, which is healthcare here. And let's if we talk about the most common use cases in the healthcare industry, we have simplifying patient appointment scheduling, speeding up account settlement, streamlining claim management, implementing discharge instructions, recording audit procedures. So let's take an illustration here again and see how RPA bots can be used to set up a new patient. So in this example, let's talk about how does this system looks like when automated. And as you all know that if you happen to go to a hospital for the first time, you have to fill in a lot of forms, submit your insurance and your identity proofs, and fill in a bunch of forms. But with automation, what patient can do, that patient can scan all IDs, for example, license and insurance card, and based on this information, he can upload it to a central portal. So as soon as patient uploads this information onto a central portal, bot triggers in, gets fetches these documents, opens up these documents, retrieves all the significant information, patient name, address, date of birth, and then from the insurance card grabs all the information, and based on that it prepares all the documents that um, patient had to fill in manually, fills in information into those documents, and then creates a patient in the central patient system, and then allows the front desk staff to download those documents, which has to be signed by the customer, by the patient. So patient doesn't have to fill in all those forms, those lengthy forms. Just upload the identity documents, and that's it. Bot takes care of rest of it. Patient just need to sign all those forms later. So pretty simple and pretty quick patient onboarding process. Now with this, let me talk about RPA adoption across the industries. So as per one survey, most enterprises were asked if they are already on the journey, on their automation journey, or they are willing to start. So 53% of the organizations responded they are already on the curve, and they are already in process of applying process automation to automate their processes. And in the upcoming 2 years, that's 2021, 2022, by I would say by the start of 2023, it is expected that this industry would increase to 72%. And if it continues to happen in the next 5 years, everything would be digitized. So this is a survey. And let's talk about pandemic's impact on this industry, because there
There was
was.
a question here on the previous slide.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Yeah. The question is that I lead my ask this question. As per my knowledge, RPA software comes with heavy license cost. Isn't it overhead?
Yeah, well, a lot of people think that way. I see where this question is coming from. There's a licensing cost involved, but think of it this way, that you have a person who's performing uh, a job regularly. So organizations have to give a paycheck every week or every 15 days based on their payroll, how they're executing doing their payroll. But if you compare the two costs, the wage cost and the cost of the license, obviously they get return on their investment in terms of you know uh, what they are putting into the licensing. So I won't say it is lesser or it's more. As per my calculations, it is pretty justified. The cost is very justified. Thinking that now what you are paying for doing repeated processes every your accounting cycle, you're just investing part of it, a small chunk of it on the licensing cost. Hope it answers your question.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so let's keep moving. So we were talking about the impact, COVID impact on this industry. Basically, every industry was impacted due to COVID, and but this RPA industry still is going up, and the impact on the industry has been positive. So enterprises are now thinking that and planning that they should go ahead and automate their processes. And as per Gartner's prediction, 90% of the organization by 2022 will go digital, and they would go beyond this to scale their digital labor capabilities. So pretty positive, nothing, not much impacted by COVID. All right, let's look at the names here, which all major giants are using RPA solutions. We have got Walmart, AT&T, Deutsche Bank, EY, Walgreens, Anthem, and MX. So, as per one statement from uh, Johnson, who's CIO at Walmart, they are already using around 500 bots to automate anything like from answering employees' question or getting retrieving useful information for auditing purpose. And Walmart thinks that they have to further empower them, and they are constantly in process of building their automated processes. So pretty nice comments from CIU. Now, if you look at the statistics, where what are the trends from past and where this is going to go in the future. If you look at the trends in, I got here worldwide revenues in US $1 million and growth in percentage. So as you can see in 2019, the overall revenues were 1,411.1 million US dollar, and the growth from the previous year was 62.93%. Though in 2020 the growth was not as much due to pandemic or anything, but there was overall growth of around 12%, you can say, to be precise 11.94%, and the revenues went up to uh, 1,579.5 million US dollar. So the prediction that we have for 2021 is that the overall global revenues would go to 1,888.1 million US dollar, with a growth from 2020 of 19.53%. So that's what the prediction we have for the market. And if we talk about RP offerings at Zenesys, we offer development and maintenance services to our clients in all the major technologies. We use UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, and we have got certified RPA developers in house. And if we talk about the life cycle that we follow in our development process, we follow pretty standard life cycle.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead,
We have
sorry.
the previous slide.
Okay.
Yeah. The question from audience is, which is the most popular, widely used?
Well, as per my information, UiPath is the most popularly used RPA software in the market. But um, there are a lot of considerations, I would say, a lot of factors that are accounted when people choose one software. It is based on the licensing cost. Every software has its own licensing cost, and specifically from the purpose, rather I would say in terms of capabilities. So all these three major softwares have their distinguished um automation capabilities, where a vendor might prefer to use one or another, but In most common scenarios, UiPath is the most popular software used in the industry. Hope that answers the question.
Yep, yes it is.
All right. So let's keep moving and let me take a look at the clock. Looks like we are coming towards the end. So take a look at the automation life cycle. As I was saying that we follow pretty standard life cycle at Zenesys, and we do all the phases right from discovery phase, build phase, manage, run, engage, and measure. So we start in terms, if you compare with our classical development life cycle, like we do perform analysis, design, development, testing, and insight in terms of return on investment, how fast processes are being performed, and the improved customer. And there are other benefits too that we measure, like that are not tangible, but that do matter, like customer experience and satisfaction. So in discovery phase, we cover everything, like we do process mining, task capture. We we use, in case of this is specifically for UiPath, the tool that I'm talking here, we use Studio or Studio X here to develop application. We manage orchestration in the cloud platform. We run those bots on client's machine. uh, Automated bots keep people involved in the testing and in the run of those bots. And management in those organizations are specifically looking at insights, as I mentioned, that return on investment, how significant improvement is in terms of uh, the speed, and what potential benefits they are getting, specifically the tangible benefits. So we provide those insights. All right. Looks like we are towards the end of today's webinar. Hope you guys enjoyed the session. Have a nice rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye. Take care.